on the season premiere of Between the Wheels.
Back in '68, the technology was so different. Now, it's not the same thing anymore. You know, the modern cars, you know, they drive like modern cars. What you got here is a classic car that drives like a modern car.
All around four-wheel coilovers.
Big difference.
Wow. There's something to be said about modernizing them so you can have a lot more fun too.
It's not a real screaming machine, but it's powerful enough to get me in trouble. You know, when you got a heavy foot like mine.
I can't wait to test that out.
Bought it new in 1970.
Those were the best days of our lives, I think.
17 years old when I bought that car.
Ran on the street. I went there, made noise, and went home.
Yeah, that's what it feels like in a 9-second car.
I got it up on jack stands and I cried.
Most people would look at it and say, it's a basket case, you can't fix that.
I mean, we didn't have any safety checks and none of this bullshit down. I mean, everybody just drove a car, you know.
At 40 miles an hour, if you're gonna crash in this thing, you're friggin' dead.
I spent probably 16-hour days. I would end up sleeping in the body shop in a car.
It's gonna be a lot of work, and she said, who cares?
It wasn't that we had money falling out of our pockets. We made the car happen because of the desire to restore the car.
So I'm standing here with Mike with arguably one of the nicest looking cars back in the day, the '68 Chevelle. I think it's the best year. I'm a little biased, but I think it's probably the best looking Chevelle. It's nice to meet you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and I'm kind of biased too because I just love them. I had a few of them, and I fell in love with them years ago, and they're a lot of fun.
Absolutely, and it's definitely one of the most popular cars, and they're beautiful. But at the same time, these cars, because they're older, obviously, this is, you know, back in '68, the technology was so different. Now, it's not the same thing anymore. You know, the modern cars, you know, they drive like modern cars.
Exactly.
But what you got here is a classic car that drives like a modern car. You know, tell us about that.
Well, I've changed the suspension. We did all around four-wheel coilovers. Changed, of course, the springs come with it. You know, the sway bars. You know, I've altered the front end that much that I can adjust it up and down. You know, and its corners better. It's just totally different from an older style car with the old rubber bushings. You got to see the difference, you know, and we'll check it out, the two of us.
That's right. Yeah, I've driven a lot of cars on this season previously, and sometimes in the corners when you're driving, the cars are just tilting, you're just holding on for dear life. Yeah. It's a little scary, but that's not the case at all because you used to have an El Camino, your wife used to have an El Camino, and you said when you drove that thing, it was just a totally different experience.
It would just rock back and forth because it had the, you know, standard suspension on it with the old rubber bushings and all that, and like you say, when you get into the corner, you've got 3,800, 4,000 pounds leaning one way, and it leans over like you feel like you're going to topple over almost. This eliminates all that with this suspension. So.
Yeah. All right. So the other advantage, I guess, to having a suspension like this is that you can fully adjust it. So it's not just, you know, you set it and forget it.
Exactly.
You can adjust it, and it's progressive. It works differently. Maybe explain that.
Well, the front springs are what they call progressive, and what they do is they increase the actual spring tension as you go down. If you say you hit a big bump or something like that, as opposed to a smaller type of bump. And then in the rear, you know, if you take it for drag racing, and which I did, I changed up the size of my slicks, and it makes a difference. All you have to do is get your wrenches under there, right at the track if you like, change the suspension, you know, turn a couple of turns and away you go, and it's totally different. So it has that advantage to it.
So it's a lot more adaptable, a lot more streetable to different changing conditions, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. And then it's also tubular control arms. Maybe talk about those and how do they benefit this type of build?
Well, they've been proven to be a lot stronger, lighter, you know, especially if you're doing a lot of drag racing. I don't do a whole lot of drag racing, but I get the foot into it enough that, you know, you want to have a 3,800 pound car getting the best gas mileage, but it doesn't work that well, you know, when you got a heavy foot like mine. But
I can't wait to test that out. Well, I hear you at the same time, like this is antique now. You know, they haven't been making these for a long time, so I think you have to be more responsible with these kind of vehicles to keep them around. And, you know, at the same time, you have the suspension, but you also have power steering and power brakes.
That's right. And I also have air conditioning.
And air conditioning. So that's more of a luxury, I don't think, for safety.
Well, and it's like when you build a house, you build it for yourself.
Right.
So I basically started to build this car, you know, for myself, and I've got Monte Carlo seats in it, you know, to make it nice and comfortable. They're power. I got the air conditioning, you know, power steering. All those are just comforts, and it still does half decent at the track. I get into the low 12s, so it's a decent car. It's not a real screaming machine, but it's powerful enough to get me in trouble.
Well, that's cool. You know, it seems to be a growing trend with people that own Chevelles. Like, you know, our friend Bruce, who you actually know because he was involved with this vehicle.
He worked on this car, yes.
He worked on this car, and he's a legend on this channel. We've seen him so many times. Also has a 68 Chevelle. He said, if I can't outrun them, I can outshine them. If I can't outshine them, I can outrun them. And so you guys seem to all have that similar personality type.
Well, I think he can outrun and outshine this one here, but that's a beautiful car that he has, eh? And
that's right.
But it's this one here suits me, and like I say, it's powerful enough, and yeah, it's plenty car enough for me, that's for sure.
Okay, so you've had this car for almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years.
So you've done some improvements. You got the power steering, the power brakes, you got the suspension and the seats and whatnot. Any other changes you made?
I changed the color on it. It was a lighter blue, and spruced it up a little bit with some nice wheels and tires and chrome. And I put the 6-inch cowl hood on it, you know, and it is functional.
Okay.
Contrary to what people might think.
Really?
It is. Yes, it is. It does work, you know. And to me, it's old school muscle.
So in terms of functionality, what advantages do you have having a 6-inch hood?
It would actually, you can see in the rain, it'll just pull right in here.
Right.
So if you want more air in there, you don't need a big hole up here, you know, to sort of take away from the look of the car. It'll just suck it right in the back here and give you more air, which gives you more power.
Okay, cool. So definitely an advantage to the hood. Sometimes a lot of people that have the hoods, especially if it's on like a 2-inch lift, it's more for show than anything else. But in this case, it's functional. And what's under the hood here, we'll need that air because we're going to be talking about that soon. It's a big boy engine, so you definitely can have some fun with it.
You know the defogger that they had back in the 60s?
Okay.
Right here?
Okay.
This one here is actually out of a 66 Beaumont.
Really?
That I got from a friend of mine.
No kidding.
The car was basically going to the crusher. And I saved that.
Nice.
I resurrected it. You know, just because it's part of, well, he's a good friend of mine, for one thing, plus it's part of the car, eh?
Yeah.
Because they were big in those days, eh? You know, because they used to have, well, because of the way they sloped the back window, they always fog up, in the rain. But that eliminates it.
Really? Okay, so there is more functionality. Some of the cars had it.
Yeah.
But in this case, you actually needed it, even though you're not driving in the winter time.
No, but even it would rain, say.
Okay.
When it rains, you know, you get the body heat from people inside, and the back window would fog up, and you couldn't see. So you just hit the switch, turn on your little defogger.
I would have never thought that.
Yeah.
You know, I thought if you're just hanging on a parking lot, it might get a little steamy. I didn't think it just with people sitting there, but that makes sense. So definitely has some functionality. And Beaumonts, for those of you who don't know, that's basically the Canadian version of the
Chevelle. Yes.
Yeah, which is really neat. So definitely some history there.
Yeah.
You've done a great job. The car looks awesome. You have a little trick for making it look super good here. We were talking earlier, because just washing it won't necessarily, you know, get the job done. What do you do to get this look?
You know, inevitably, you're going to, like, if you have a driver, you're going to get caught in the rain. So what I've been doing for years is I just get out my leaf blower and I'll blow in behind all the chrome pieces, or if you get any needles or leaves or anything caught in underneath the hood, the cowl hood, it just takes it right out. You think you have it, when you chamois it off, you think you have it all dry. You put the leaf blower to it and you'll see the water come right out of it. And it just it just helps to keep everything from rusting in behind that you can't see.
Yeah, tricks of the trade. I know that better than anybody. You know, when you have all the trims and all the vents and everything, it's really hard to see what's going on under there.
Exactly.
Now, mind you, this hood's a little bit different because it actually has the vent built into it. Let's say on a Nova, which is what I have, it's separate. So you don't know what's going on under there unless you remove it. So for people buying cars, it's always good. There's a lot more going on underneath the trim and the vents and whatnot.
The thing about this one too, if you see a hood that already has the scoop built into it, when it's closed, it comes up to here in the windshield.
Okay.
And you lose that much more of your windshield. This is just a scoop put onto a metal.
Okay.
A metal hood.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't like it made like this. It was just added in after
we made it. A buddy of mine and I, with the Nova, the guy with the Nova, Lenny.
Yeah.
We cut the hole out and blended it all in. He blended it all, and then I got it painted after.
Oh, guys, you guys did a hell of a job. It looks super cool. Nice.
Did a nice job of it.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little personal touch to something. Speaking of the hood, we got to open it. We got to see what's under here. One of my favorite engines.
So this is a big block. It's been worked on. Still got the cast iron heads on it. The only thing aluminum is the high-rise intake. Yeah. Everything else is all cast iron, but it has been balanced and blueprinted. It's been bored out to 468. It was dynoed at the time at 550.
Wow.
So it's still probably somewhere around there now. Like that was in 2010. That's a number of years ago, but it still has enough pull, enough torque, and everything. Like I say, it's plenty. It's not an 880 horsepower like Bruce has, but
it'll do.
It'll do. It does the job, you know, and. It's been a good motor, it runs well. It still has enough power left in it to turn the tires pretty easily. So.
Well, I definitely look forward to that. That's one of my favorite parts, to be honest with you. And this is not a 427, this is a 454. 454,
yes.
And at the time in 68, 454s weren't available. They only came in 1970. Yeah. So I feel like the 454 was almost like the engine that kind of missed the party because it's such an awesome engine.
It is.
But at the time they only had the 427 and that was really rare as well.
Yeah, and exactly. And Max, that's why, you know, like with the seats and all that kind of stuff, I built it, you know, like it did have a 454 in it, but I continued on building it for myself.
Right.
Because, you know, it's definitely not a stock 68, but I don't care about that.
Yeah, that's okay.
You know?
Well, you built it to match the specs you want. Clearly, it's not an SS. You're not trying to make it look like a clone. You're enjoying it for what it is. Plus, you've totally customized it for your needs. I even see electronic ignition here.
Yes.
So obviously, for starting the car, that just makes it start so much easier, much more reliable.
Has air conditioning.
Air conditioning, right? So this is pretty cool. You've done a lot of work on this to make it the way it is. What other things do you have here that would basically make it have high performance? Because you're talking about solid lifters and whatnot. What is the advantage to having solid lifters?
Well, I found way back when I first used the solid lifters against a car that had hydraulic lifters, I could go another 500 RPM than he could.
Oh, really? So you rev higher?
Identical cars, but I could rev a lot more.
Do you have a rev limiter?
Yes,
on?
I do.
What are you revving at?
This one, I had it set for 6,000.
6,000, okay.
Yeah, which is a safe.
That's a pretty safe amount.
Yeah, it'll go more, but why take the chance, eh?
It's funny you mention that. We did another Chevelle, a 64, mind you, with a 454, and he would rev at 7,000, and that thing was insane. Actually ended up blowing up the car, so
you feel like something's going to come through the floor in your feet when, you know, it's at 7,000. So
absolutely.
6 is safe.
But that said, you know, now when you're talking about more modern engines and people putting in newer engines, a lot of people are putting the 540s in. Mm-hmm. However, the fastest drive I've ever been in had a 454, so you can make these engines absolute monsters if you know what you're doing.
Yes, you can get them to go. The torque is almost as high, if not higher, than the than the cubic inch. You know,
right?
And they have a lot of torque to them to begin with, So which is nice, especially for what we basically do. We don't all drag race, but you know, we give it a little snap off the corner.
Yeah.
And you're only going not even an eighth of a mile, so there's when your torque is kicking in.
Yeah.
You know,
that's where all your gains are.
That's where the fun is.
That's where the fun is.
That's where the fun is.
Now, speaking of fun, I know you've done drag racing, but obviously you're from the previous generation where you guys had a little more fun than guys like my age, obviously.
Yes.
So you guys did street racing. What were those days like?
Well, they were pretty wild because it's hard to say that it was like controlled street racing, if you will. We'd go to a certain place on Sundays, and people were lined up on the edge of the road with lawn chairs.
Really?
Waiting for us to show up to drag race on the street.
Sounds like a Tragic the Hip concert almost, with cars. All the lawn chairs, that's hilarious.
You know, of course, there was fewer police cars in those days, and we got away with a lot more, but it sure was fun.
Yeah, and if the police did catch you, chances are you actually knew the...
Well, a lot of times we knew them, you know, and they would give us a break, you know, and stuff like that. But with the system they have now with planes, drones, you know, more cars, you can't, in stunt driving, you can't take a chance.
Those days are over. But even speaking about street racing, a lot of people say, oh, you know, it's really bad and whatnot, or outlaws and whatnot. Maybe it wasn't maybe it wasn't necessarily a good thing, but when you guys did it, you did it more safer than now, because now they have these, I guess, these takeover events, and people are doing burnouts and donuts in parking lots and hitting each other. It's crazy. A lot of the younger kids and the younger generation, but you guys didn't do that. You really made sure that there was nobody around, and you guys just kind of picked safe roads. So there was more responsibility to it.
Yeah. Well, you know,
for those days.
For those days, yes, we'd always scope out a place, not just for the police, but we'd scope out a place to make sure that nothing has changed on the road, that we could go and have a safe run, because you don't have any Jersey barriers between you on the road, so you got to make sure. It's not worth your life. Yeah, it's not worth your life, exactly.
That's cool. Well, that makes sense. And now these days, we obviously don't do those kind of speeds anymore. We're not racing that. If we do, we go to the drag strip, and it's a lot of fun, you know. And for anybody that's done it or hasn't done it, it's honestly the best way to go, because it's just the safest conditions possible.
And it's a rush.
It's a rush.
It's a rush.
Cool.
If they haven't tried it, they should try it.
Well, speaking of that, I think we have to see what this thing is like on the road. I'm just dying to get in it. I love the 454 and I love the Chevelle. Very biased about it, but I think we got to go for a ride. I'm dying to get in this thing.
Let's go for a burn.
That's all right, and see how the quality is of the drive versus those old cars, because sometimes I don't think I'm going to be holding on for dear life on this one.
No.
Maybe. We'll see.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Going a little faster than I thought he was.
And you got the 700 R4 here with the race shifter.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Wow, that's aggressive.
Yeah, it's a 2500 stall in it. And the Fireball did some work on it, on the valve body.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, you know, like, it's like asking a guy, you know, what did you put in the pizza? You know? He's not going to tell you.
No.
You know, so.
That's okay. As long as you get to enjoy the pizza.
Yeah. So I'm going to keep it at 60.
Yeah.
And you'll see there'll be very little as we come into this corner.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant corner.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see it's, well, when I first started, I did it progressively. You know, because at first, you know, you're thinking you're gonna go like this, eh?
Well, that's what I'm expecting.
Yeah, but no, it doesn't do that. It's a big difference. It just hugs the road.
All right. Well, let's see how it handles this corner. Wow.
You see, I can give it more fuel now, eh? See, and it's not gonna hurt it. Now we're up past 60 now.
Wow, you just did that turn at 60 like nothing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It just sucks right around the corner. And like I say, this is 3,800 pounds, this thing. And probably up around 4, because these seats, although they're comfortable, they're heavy.
They're heavy, yeah. There was absolutely no sway or anything, so wow.
I tell you, it makes a big difference, you know. And you look, you know, when your car is done, you look back and it looks like a regular car, a stock car.
Yeah.
When you get in and drive it, that's when you see the difference.
Oh man. It's funny, I naturally get really nervous through the corner because I know what they do, but this is holding the car like a Civic or something.
Yeah, big difference.
Wow. Okay, you sold me on the tubular control arms and coilovers. That's significant. You know, I understand keeping cars original and stock, but there's something to be said about modernizing them so you can have a lot more fun too.
But if you look at the safety aspect of it, how many cars back in my age had 14-inch tires?
Yeah, that's true.
Would you put a 14-inch tire in your car and take your kids in it? You wouldn't do it.
Yeah, no. Wow.
You'd be crazy to, you know? And that's just the way things have evolved.
Right. And also, in terms of, let's say, braking, having 4 drums is scary. It's super hard to stop a car that's 3,800 pounds.
Yeah.
Mind you, some of these had disc front, but they're still not as effective as all-around discs.
And the thing too is you can take and you can enhance the size of the rotor, the calipers, everything. You know, it's you go from the stock to nice size one, especially on the front, and nobody's going to know.
Yeah, nobody's going to know.
They're not going to see it, you know.
It still looks like a 68 in almost every way. So.
You'll definitely know it when you put the brakes on, you know, like this one here.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome.
So it's, you know, it gets you down there.
I think what you got here is the best of both worlds. You still have a naturally aspirated, carbureted engine. You don't have fuel injection.
No.
But yet you have all the modern, you know, accessories to make it drive really well. I'm having a lot of fun on this, I'll be honest with you. It's pretty cool. That idle too. You can't beat that.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
This is sweet.
I found a picture of a '68 Chevelle.
Yeah.
With the pipes coming out the side.
Yeah.
And they're oval.
Okay.
And it just looks so sweet. It just really is. So I think I might go that route.
Now, there's always something to do. You've already done a lot. Well, pretty much everything, but there's always ways to improve it, make it more your thing, and you're having fun too with it. So, which is the most important thing.
I was talking to a buddy of mine yesterday, and I was telling him, you know, and he said, "Well, why?" I said, "I don't need it, but I want it."
Yeah.
At this stage in my life.
Yeah. When you retire, though, I think that's where it changes from need to want, because you did everything you need for all these years. You need to work here to pay for this. You need to do this.
Exactly.
Now it's like, you know, I want to have a '68 Chevelle with, you know, everything basically that you want. That's awesome. I think that's the only really reward you can give yourself for living. You're a hardworking guy, obviously. So. Oh man, I love that idle. That just sounds so beautiful. I really hope you come out to Lustville one day with this thing. I'll be interested to see it.
Oh, I wanted to get out there for that, but I couldn't make it. The car was like, there was wires hanging down, and I was so pissed off, you know, because I wanted to get out there. It's been forever since.
That's always next year.
You know, well, we went out before COVID there, eh? And I raced my buddy in the Nova, and I raced him in his Chevelle, and
oh man,
he was not a camper. I blew the doors off in both cars, saying, "Holy oh, we had a good time, eh?" But Lenny is very what's the word I'm looking? Competitive.
Competitive, yeah.
Very,
a lot of you guys are competitive.
Yeah.
You all say that. You're all nice and smiles.
Oh yeah, we're
helping
all
each other.
friends.
As soon as you get on the racetrack, it's a different story.
Yeah. I'm beating his ass.
Yeah.
Well, back in my day, if somebody was going to race and they had a problem, you'd help the guy out.
Yeah.
And he's going to race you.
You want to make it as fair as possible.
Exactly.
How times have changed.
They really messed this road up.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't. I think just about 2 years ago they fixed this all up, but all they did was add the asphalt here, and look at how it broke off.
This is a pretty bad road, and the ride quality
You're not feeling it.
Not at all.
That's why I took this road.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised. I thought we're going to get on this road. It's going to be kind of a crappy drive, but this is not the case at all.
And like I say, Max, you can adjust it even more to your liking.
Right.
You know, and it only takes a few minutes to adjust it.
Yeah. But,
you know,
wow, what a difference.
I knew nothing about it until I started it after I saw Jody's. And I thought, well, shit, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And it's nice when you can accomplish something like that on your own.
Yeah.
You know, and get it done, and it works.
I like what you've done here, honestly. A lot of guys are very stubborn, and they want to keep the old stuff because that's how it was back in the day. But I could see now that there are tremendous tremendous advantages to changing the way you think and kind of,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I think it's a compromise more than like, oh, it's all brand new. It's like, well, it still looks like an old car. It just drives like a new one.
Probably my neighbor. It'll take him an hour to get home.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, he's speeding up a little bit. I think it is. Looks like his
he really
car.
sped up as soon as he got near him.
Yeah.
You must get some interesting looks driving this thing.
Oh yeah. One of the main ones you get is this.
Oh yeah.
Everybody wants you to burn your tires off.
All right. Well, that was really cool. One of my favorite cars. One of my favorite engines. But easily, in terms of setups, I think this one makes the most sense. Maybe for me personally, I think you have a great mix of modern and old school technology. You know what I mean? Everything kind of works together. So it's an old car.
Yes. Yeah.
That drive was amazing. Like, it was seriously such a safe drive, I guess you could say. And for that, I want to give you a hat. So anybody that appears on the show gets a Between the Wheels hat.
Well, thank you very much, Max. I really appreciate you coming out.
Thank you for having us so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
I hope you get lots of work this summer, and I hope you can get the youth involved.
Absolutely.
To do this.
Well, that's what we're really trying to do. I want to show, the generations before and what everyone's doing, because this is some fun stuff. If you're a younger person, you really should look into the old cars. They're a lot of fun. At least try to see if you can go for a ride with someone, and you might be surprised at how much fun you have. At the same time, working on these old cars, they're very simple. So if you want to do some restorations, I got addicted trying it out, and now I understand why everyone likes these things. So,
exactly. Yeah. Lots of fun.
Lots of fun. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Max.
After I packed up. This is awesome. Wow. Oh, this is awesome. I'm so honored. This is really, really cool. First time driving a Chevelle, a 68 Chevelle.
Next time on Between the Wheels.
I wanted a Corvette, but then I didn't want your granddaddy's Corvette, and then also I wanted something safe. We just kept adding more and more structure. We'd look for any weak point in there, and we just added a bunch of beefs. This, if you wanted to plumb it through the wall, the wall's not going to stop this thing.